I finally have the time to show you and make the project. So basically, what I started off here for this was being able to detect the different infrastructures in between both flow environment. I had to do some research and identify exactly the best way to label each of those. And how I did that was I inserted it inside of Microsoft Forms. So as you can see, I'm labeling this as the automation process. The first statement in the Microsoft Form survey is going to be the email address found inside the email that was sent to you. Basically, what this means is that it's giving the client the information of my email so they can send me the information back after it was submitted. The next question is going to be the place that they actually enter in the email from the mail. Here is the section where you are detecting which infrastructure that the client decides best fits their company. The first question is your problem something you would like automated based on a specific schedule or time interval that you define? And this is going to be the scheduled time flow. The next question is going to be, is your problem something you want to be corrected in response to a specific event happening? This is going to be the automated cloud flow. And the third and final question for the infrastructures is going to be, is the problem something you want to correct whenever you please and at any time? This is going to be the instant cloud flow. And the additional questions just help fill in the email with that is sent to you. So here we get into the actual flow, and I do want to mention something. I did create an entire first version of this. It was a lot of experimenting and a lot of tweaking in order to get the exact results that I wanted. So here's my first variation to the right. And as you can see, I used what is called the compose action. And from my knowledge, I thought this was going to be able to store whether the question was answered yes or no. Yes meaning true, no meaning false. But I quickly learned that that was not the best way to do it. And in fact, these are labeled as strings, and I can't store each individual true or false answer inside of a string. So I did a lot of writing and research, and AI and Copilot helped me develop a way to store and keep the variable. So this is how it's going to work. They will get the email address inside the email I would send to them, and this is how the code actually begins. I started out when a new response is submitted, and this basically means as soon as the Microsoft Form survey is filled out and submitted, this action right here is going to initiate the flow, further automating our process helping clients. The next action is going to be the get response details. This action allows all of the data that was filled out inside of the Microsoft Form to be extracted and put inside of this flow. And here is what I changed inside of my second code variation. That was the initialize variable. The initialize variable is actually the action that sets the initial value of the variable. So basically, what I'm looking for and what I turned into an integer using this action was actually going to be the amount of yeses that were answered on side of the Microsoft survey. Now, the second thing that I tweaked is also a variable, but it's not the same as the initialize. Each increment variable with either a yes or a no, I can use the yes count initializer and help it store it inside of each one of these increment variables. The action that holds the increment variables are going to be the conditions. The conditions are what is going to be allowing this action to detect whether the survey question was answered yes or no. Yes meaning true, no meaning false. As we make our way down to the bottom, we come down to our last condition. This is going to be where that initialized variable comes into play. The initialized variable is actually going to be storing the values of each increment variable, and as you can see, I put that right over here. And what I set it to is if it's greater than 1, send an email. What that means is if one or more questions were answered with yes, then it's sending you an error email to retry. The reason I do this is because a flow cannot have two infrastructures inside of them. So allowing the condition to be if greater than 1 basically allows that not to happen, and it resends the email to the client, allowing them to retry the survey. Now, if it's not greater than 1, it will come down to this false action, which leads us to our last condition. And this condition is going to be if only one of the Microsoft Forms survey was answered yes, which means it would be true. It would send you or me the informational email is what I call it, which will tell you exactly which infrastructure they answered yes to and the rest they answered no to. This email will only be sent to us, this email will only be sent to me, and the client will only receive the error email if they answered one or more questions with yes. Now the flow is completed and I will test it. If I head over here to the Microsoft Forms and the automation process, go ahead and preview. Click Start Now, and then enter the following. For this example, I will show you a process that is done correctly. Now we are ready to submit. And I'm going to go over here to the flow. And as you can see, it will run through it and come down to the false section, which leads to the true section, which sends the informational email to me. Now I will test this again with an error message. Here is the email that I received with the information and the infrastructure that was answered with yes. Now I will show you the error message. Go ahead and submit another response. This time we'll be answering 2 questions with yes. And it doesn't matter what order you do it in, as long as one or more questions are answered with yes, it will send the client the error message. And I'll show you the process of the error. So as you can see, one or more true are answered with yes, which means 2 true statements, which means this condition detects and leads it to the true side, which sends the error email. And as you can see, it sends you the error email with the client email, which in this case is me, but in the same time he is also my client and I am his client. As you can see, the process is great.